All right, and we are back here on the GSMC football podcast. And for the final part of the show, we're going to get into talking about the NFC East, who I have winning that division, how I see the other teams finishing in that division. So let's get right into that. So I know I went through each team's individual schedules, but now we're kind of just going to go through the standings and how I see them shaping out. So this is what I have for the NFC East. So I got the Commanders finishing in last, Giants finishing in third, Cowboys in second, and the Eagles in first place. Now, the Giants, how the offense has looked this preseason, I'm a little concerned. But I do think the defense is going to be a solid unit this year. And I think there are things to like about the Giants. I think the offensive line is going to be improved. It looks like like the way it's been in the preseason, it's improved. Devin Singletary's not going to be Saquon Barkley by any means, but I do think he's going to be productive for them. And I think the quarterback play will be good enough where the Giants are not going to. It's not going to be like the begin. Well, it's hard for me to say that based on how Daniel Jones has played, but I don't think the quarterback play is going to be as bad as we may have seen in the preseason. For the Commanders, for me, I know there's people that think they could be a team that can surprise some people. And Jane Daniels has looked good in the preseason. But I don't know. I'm still not buying in on the Commanders that they're going to be better. Well, maybe they'll be better. I gave them 4 wins. Maybe that's a little too low, but I don't know. I just don't see them finishing ahead of the Giants just because the Giants have owned them in recent years. And I wasn't a fan of the Dan Quinn hire. I still think the defense is not going to be good because their secondary was not good last year. They were giving up so many big plays. I don't know. I'm just not really buying into the Commanders this year. But I could be wrong. Um, I think it all depends on how Jane Daniels plays. He could go if he goes out there and plays really well. And Terry McLaurin, you hope for his sake that they find his quarterback because that's really he's been playing with many different quarterbacks. And some of the other young guys, and they traded Jahan Dotson too, which people were surprised about that. They're hoping for big things out of Luke McCaffrey. What kind of threat do they have at tight end? I know they brought in Zach Ertz, but Zach Ertz is past his prime. I don't know. I'm not really that big on the Commanders, but we'll see. If Jane Daniels plays well, maybe they do surprise people and they finish with a better record than what I have here because this is the record they finished with last year. The Cowboys at 11-6. I feel like they take a little bit of a step back, even though it's one game worse than what they finished with last year. They didn't really make a ton of moves. One could argue they got worse this offseason. I mean, they just brought in Dalvin Cook now, so we'll see how that helps them out. I mean, I went through all that at the beginning of the show, towards the beginning of the show. But I do think with Dak and CD, Micah Parsons, there's a lot of stars on this team. They're going to have their good regular season. They're going to beat up on bad teams. They're going to have a good regular season. And they're going to be a playoff team. I have them as one of the wild card teams. But it is interesting listening to different people and seeing that, some people have Dallas having a losing record and missing the playoffs. Others have them, finishing in first place in the division. My one friend has them going to the Super Bowl. Mainly because their reasoning was they wanted to be different and not just have Chiefs 49ers. And I don't want to do that either, but we'll get into that next week. But it is interesting how this offseason has kind of sent many people in different directions on how they feel about Dallas. But I just think there's too much talent on this team. I do worry about the depth. That is something to be concerned about. Because, if guys start getting hurt, already Deron Bland is going to be out. And he was a big part of their team last year. With all the interceptions and pick sixes that he had. You worry about the depth. But if everybody stays healthy, this team is going to be a good team in the regular season. Now, when it comes to the playoffs, it's a completely different thing. But when it comes to the regular season, this team is good. This team will get its fair share of wins. But I just think the Eagles, right now, they're the most talented team in this division. You add Saquon Barkley. You revamp that defense. They traded for Jahan Dotson. And I just feel like there's too much talent on this team. And I feel like that supersedes everything else in this division. And I feel like that is going to... They're not going to have the same amount of problems that they had last year. But I think what people are worried about is the coaching. The relationship between Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts. Jason Kelsey not being there. Fletcher Cox not being there. Those are two big pieces. Two leaders that they are not going to have in that locker room. And the impact can be felt. But I do think Saquon being there, I think Saquon's going to, he even said it. He's going to take on a leadership role. Jalen Hurts is going to take on more of a role. You still got Brandon Graham there for one more year. Big Dom, he's there. Their security guard. I think the collapse from last year is a thing of the past. I think the Eagles are going to be back to how they were when they started off 10-1, and maybe even that team that went to the Super Bowl. They got two number one receivers on the team, arguably. A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. Solid tight end, Saquon. Good offensive line. Jalen Hurts, there's people that are going to criticize him and say he's not very good. I think he's a solid quarterback. Last year, you got to cut down on the turnovers. But I think he's a solid quarterback, and I think the defense is going to be better. Bringing Bryce Huff over from the Jets, Devin White, you drafted Cooper DeJean and Mitchell. Now, James Bradbury, it's being reported, suffered a lower leg injury in practice, and he'll miss approximately 6 to 8 weeks. Now, he had a rough year last year, as opposed to the year before. But that's a big loss in the secondary. They brought back C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You still have Darius Slay. So, we'll see how it goes. But I think the Eagles are going to be back to being the team they were before the collapse. When the 49ers, the 49ers just sent them in disarray. So, we'll see. But yeah, I got the Eagles at 12-5, Cowboys 11-6, Giants 7-10, Commanders 4-13. So, let me know what you guys think though about that. How do you see the NFC East shaping out? It's mainly going to come down to Dallas and Philly for the division. The Commanders and the Giants are still trying to figure it out. The Giants are hoping that they're more competitive and they don't finish with a 7-10 record. But I was going back and forth between 6-11, 7-10, but I'm being generous and giving them 7 wins. So we'll see how it goes. The Commanders, I could definitely see them, going against my my win total and surprising people, but I'm gonna still stand firm on their win total and say that they go 4-13, which again is the same record that they had last year. So, but yeah, let me know what you guys think though in the comments. So yeah, that is pretty much it for the show for today. Thank you guys for sticking with me as I still try to battle what I got going on here with my allergies. Definitely sound better today than I did on Tuesday. I did want to go over the comment that was left to me on one of the videos, on one of the segments, because again, the way I sounded, yeah, you probably thought I was gonna cry, the way I was talking, I mean, and you can still kind of hear it the way I'm talking right now. So, this was by, I hope this is the right one. Yeah, so so this is from Anthony Lopez dash T1M, and he said, "Why?" And this is on the Sports Network YouTube channel on my Steelers segment. Mike Tomlin, talking about the QB competition. So he said, "Why do you sound like you want to cry when you read? Read with confidence. You got this." And again, going back to that show, and just listening to it, I mean, that whole show, I just sounded like I was gonna cry, the way I sounded. I mean, I still sound like it now, but it's a little bit better. So, but yeah, hopefully by hopefully by next Thursday when we preview Ravens Chiefs, I'll be close to 100%. I don't know. There's some kind of bug that's going around. I mean, I got some family members that have been dealing with a cough and for a while, so I think I might have got that from them. But yeah, I think I'm starting to get to the other side of it, which is good, because I mean, I can't be out for a week with this, but slowly but surely I'm getting there. So I'm not crying. I mean, I'm crying tears of joy because football's back, but I'm not crying. It's just I got some stuff going on that needs to get out of my system. So again, thank you guys for bearing with me. Again, check out all the other shows. Give the other shows some love. And until then, I'm Kenneth Grunfelder signing off from the GSMC Football Podcast, brought to you by the GSMC Sports Network. Have a good day, and I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Take care.